I was talking to Gleaves earlier, and I have this rather paradoxical theory about what to do, how to vote if you want to end the war in Iraq. I don't know if you want to end the war in Iraq. You don't have to want to end the war in Iraq. But if you do want to end the war in Iraq, you might consider voting for John McCain. This might sound odd. McCain is the one who's been staunchest behind the war policy. But suppose Hillary Clinton became president. Hillary Clinton has taken a position of, well, sort of opposition to the war. It's hard to know exactly where. She did vote to authorize the use of force in Iraq. But she's since said that if she knew what she knew, she'd change the vote and all that. Anyway, but if Hillary Clinton gets elected president, she will endure particular scrutiny. Is she tough enough to handle American foreign policy? Is the fact that she's a woman going to make her wimp out in the Middle East? She'll know she's under that kind of scrutiny, and so she will be very careful, and I would argue very slow, to pull troops out of Iraq. Now, here I'm going to get into the realm of prediction, and my predictions aren't any better than yours, but I'll just give it to you for what it's worth. I happen to think that trouble lies ahead in Iraq. The country was essentially artificially created, and it's held together only by outside force or the force of dictatorial authority from within. And once you start removing that force, I think Iraq may well splinter. It's already lost the northern part to the Kurds in a de facto sense. And there is a lot of turmoil to be experienced between the Shias and the Sunnis in the southern part of the country. So I think there's a lot of trouble ahead for Iraq, regardless of whether the United States is there or not. Now, if that premise is correct, and if we agree that American troops can't stay there forever, and actually they can't, because we just don't have enough troops to leave a substantial portion there forever, and to deal with other challenges to American security, and challenges that are going to pop up. The world has been remarkably quiet these last 5 years, and a lot of bad things could have happened, but didn't anyway. So American troops are going to have to start coming out. And if they come out under a Hillary Clinton administration, and if then bad things happen in Iraq, you know that the Republicans are going to hammer her for having lost Iraq. Now, this is going to happen to a President Obama as well, because they're both Democrats. But in Clinton's case, it's going to be doubly a matter of, boy, she was too weak. And all you have to say is, she was too weak. You'd say it artfully. You wouldn't say President Clinton was too weak. No, you say she was too weak. And your audience knows that a woman can't stand up to this sort of thing. Okay? Well, and that's why I suspect that if you want to get troops out of Iraq, don't vote for Clinton, don't vote for Obama, vote for McCain, because McCain can operate from a position of strength. Nobody challenges John McCain on national security. My God, he's a war hero. He spent 5 years in a prisoner of war camp. McCain can declare victory and say, now it's time for the troops to come home. We did what we could. We gave the Iraqi people 6 years. And now they got to stand on their own. They can't rely on us forever. We won the war. Okay? If they lose the peace, they lose the peace. But we can't keep everybody forever. So anyway, that's the kind of challenge a woman president would encounter. Are there any areas where a woman president would have an advantage? Hard to say. One might think that, okay, a woman president, a president who is a mother, might be thought to be particularly sensitive to sort of, I don't know, let's say healthcare reform. Okay? Maybe. Maybe not. It's hard to know how that would play out. Times and attitudes are changing fast. I can go back to the administration of Franklin Roosevelt. Frances Perkins was Roosevelt's Secretary of Labor. This is Frances with an E, a woman, who was Roosevelt's Secretary of Labor. And organized labor had a hard time getting used to this, because the Secretary of Labor was always supposed to be a union person, and union people were all men. Okay, Roosevelt was able to get them to go along with this. But when it came time to write this, the legislation that created the Social Security system, Roosevelt made sure that Frances Perkins took the lead. And this was at a time when a woman was really conventionally, by most people, thought to be more sensitive to the needs of the elderly, to the needs of people who had suffered injury on the job, to these social kinds of questions. And he did this quite deliberately. Frances Perkins is going to be the one, and she was always Mrs. Perkins, is going to be the one who is going to take the lead on this. I don't think that distinction is as important as it used to be. Maybe with some people. My father is almost 93, my mother is 82, and both of them have told me at times in the past that they would never vote for a woman for president. And they both said in perfect sincerity that they just don't think it right or possible for a woman to run the country. And, you know, they're entitled to their opinions. I haven't talked to my mom, well, it's actually a moot question, because they're also both convinced Republicans. And I'm sure there's a connection between those two, but, you know, and so my mom nowadays can say she won't vote for Hillary Clinton because she'd never vote for a Democrat. Would she vote for, I don't know, Kay Bailey Hutchison, if the senator from Texas, if she got the nomination? I don't know. I don't know how much my mom's views have changed. They changed somewhat, but I don't know if they changed that far, which raises it's kind of a deeper question. We can end on this one. It's a philosophical question, but it's a historical question. When change occurs in society, when change occurs in people's ways of thinking, does it change because individuals change their minds, or does it change because the older generation just steps off the stage, retires and dies, and a new generation comes along with new ideas? It's a question that those of us who deal with history and change over time have to encounter all the time. But it also gets at a kind of deeper question of, how do people work? Do people ever really change their minds on fundamental issues? When we view society as a whole, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, because generations change and move along. And so the younger generation is more open, I think, to ideas like women's equality than an older generation. Well, is it because the older generation hasn't had time to change its mind? Or maybe it's never going to change its mind. I don't know. But this will be for you all to figure out. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.